Thanks for coming up at noon.
Nice to be here.
Yeah. You came from Montreal. Did you fly in this morning?
I flew in a
days?
couple of days, actually. Yeah,
right.
and a little colder than I thought, but yeah.
In San Francisco or in our studio? Both are very cold.
True.
Now we can talk about the weather for the next 7 minutes, or we can talk about Mankind Divided. This is the follow-up to Deus Ex: Human Revolution, which was pretty much the reboot of Deus Ex. We got Adam Jensen, even though we never asked for him, but we're going to accept him. But what's going on with Mankind Divided?
Well, we take place 2 years after the events of Human Revolution, so we're continuing down our exploration of transhumanism. And this time we're exploring like the flip side of it. So Human Revolution was the hope, the dream, everybody very empowering, everybody deciding like how they want to augment themselves. And after the events of Panchaea and the AUG incident, then things went wrong, obviously, and there's a big schism now in society. People are afraid, and governments, big power players are kind of taking advantage of that to create that wedge between the population and just kind of fuel the fear in order to kind of reestablish their hold on people.
Cool. So you're obviously expanding the level of kind of player choice that we saw in the last Deus Ex game, and also there was that the last one came out what? 5 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
So it's like 2 years later in the game world, but it's 5 years later in the meta world, or the real world, as some call it. How do you feel that you've kind of evolved the game in terms of how people are playing games these days?
Well, I think for us it was this, it was a big challenge to recreate the Deus Ex franchise, and I think a lot of the people on our teams wanted to take that further and bring all that experience and take it somewhere else, and that's why, like you were talking about choice and consequence before, that was one of the main things that we wanted to revisit and do, like from the minute-to-minute gameplay as well, not just like these big story arcs at different intervals in the game, but like minute-to-minute when you speak to someone, whether you do something for them or not, or even in this Dubai level, the speed at which you complete the level, there could be a sandstorm at the end or not. You have some secondary objectives that you can complete or not. Near the end, in the showdown, then there's an operative on the field that you can save him or not save him, and then there's a helicopter that's there, and you could blow it up or stop it, or it could leave, and all of the different permutations of those possibilities are carry through later on in the game, and are going to have consequences.
Now, in the last few years specifically, we've seen a lot of technological advancements when it comes to sort of human augmentation in the real world. Are you guys looking at stuff like that?
Yeah, it's always something that we're looking at. Obviously, like we're going for maybe the more dramatic stuff, and I don't know that we're at the point where people are gonna get blades and things out of their arms.
It'd be cool though. I mean, if you're gonna get a new arm, get one with swords on it.
Yeah, but it was actually very interesting because at E3 we had somebody from Open Bionics who had one of the prosthetic arms that was built, designed from our modeling team actually, and it was modeled into a real arm. And he was walking around with it, and then it was wild, the attention that he was getting. People were like, super impressed. I was like, wow.
Awful. You're not supposed to acknowledge a prosthetic. You're supposed to just act like it's totally cool.
No, you can high five one.
It's fine, yeah. I had a boss one time who had like 7.5 fingers. You shake his hand, and there's that kind of nice to meet you.
On one hand?
Yeah.
That's not what we're
not
talking
on one
about
hand.
at
On
all.
one hand, it was like collectively 7.5 fingers. But yeah, anyway, so this is a game that encourages a lot of kind of, like we said, player freedom. But it's not open world. It's not like go anywhere, do anything. But
we're still we're a small team, and we like to make we want that handcrafted feeling to things. So there's an openness in terms of how you take on things, and you can play it stealthily, or you can go full on action, like as you're seeing in this particular playthrough. The social aspect is very important, so you can speak with characters. There are augmentations, social augmentations that allow you to interrupt people or manipulate them, or know if they're telling the truth or not, things like that. And hacking is an important aspect as well, where you can bypass a lot of so we're giving all those tools, and we're making it available to players, and then it's up to them to kind of craft the kind of gameplay experience that they want. And we like to have something that's a little bit more deep, so the more you observe and the more you pay attention and the more you dig, the more you're going to find in our game.
Now, really, really gorgeous. We actually got a quick question from YouTube. Mr. B Fox, very famous YouTube person, says, is Malik alive or dead in Mankind Divided's canon, or are they pulling an Andromeda with everything from the last game being some kind of narrative Schrodinger's cat? So kind of a mouthful, but...
Yeah, that's a really good question. We get asked that a lot. As I was saying, in our game, if you pay attention to things and you dig around and you investigate and you pay attention to little things, you can find out certain things. So I would suggest that approach in Mankind Divided to potentially get some answers on that question.
So you're being a little secretive on the narrative here. That's okay. You're allowed to do that. It's your story. So.
We're very much aware of the events of Human Revolution, and there are some answers hidden in Mankind Divided for fans of Malik.
Cool. So that's Mankind Divided. Thank you so much for joining us. This looks awesome. When is this out in the wild?
It's going to be out August 23rd, very shortly.
Coming out very soon.
Yeah.
And then what? You get a vacation? This is
I
like
hope
5
so.
years, right?
Yeah.
You get to take a nap.
I'm hoping.
Take a nice nap. Let's get your colleague out here, and we can discuss Deus Ex Go, which of course is that's the Deus Ex game where you go out in the world and use augmented reality to capture various cyborgs, correct?
No, it's not. But
sorry.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Of course not.
I never heard of that game.
Nonsense.
So yeah, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. You guys were making mobile games with the word "Go" in them a long time before Pokemon Go. Like that's something Square Enix has been doing for a while now. So
Yeah, Hitman Go came out in 2014.
Yeah.
They're very wildly different games.
Yes.
It's not even like close. We have like the Go inspiration in our case came more from the oldest board game in the world. It's more an inspiration of simplicity, cleanliness, like a board game. But yeah, I mean, Go is a word you can use when you make a game.
I'm consistently fascinated in the way you guys are able to take these big console franchises and kind of boil them down to much more simple, entirely more elegant scenarios like what we're seeing right here. Lara Croft Go was one of my favorite mobile games last year. It was actually just flat out one of my favorite games of last year. So it's really cool to see this happening with another franchise. And again, like you're bringing in a lot of the elements of sort of that, like there's killing, there's violent stuff here, but it's broken down in these very simple themes. It's very cool how you guys are doing that.
The idea is really to look at the franchise, look at Deus Ex in this case, and figure out what's the core idea that we had to bring in so that people can play this game and still feel the same thing they feel when they play Deus Ex Mankind Divided, for example, but in a whole different way. So you get the hacking, the augmentations, you get the same types of scenarios and like conspiracies and narrative, which is something new that we're bringing in with Deus Ex Go. We didn't have a real clear narrative in the other games, but it was something that we really wanted to have a nice nod at, because that's what the Go games are. They're basically like a celebration of what a franchise is. Lara Croft Go was all about explorations, the traps, the different enemies you had to avoid. Well, this one is more about manipulating a scene, using the guards against each other, the turrets, hacking into turrets so you can take control of a scene. So all of these kind of pillars make a similar game, but it is way different when you in the nitty-gritty part of playing that game.
Right. And one of the things I really like is how they're sort of they're really playing to the strengths of the platform. A lot of people, when you think of mobile games, you're like tapping and swiping and all this nonsense. But these are very like they're simple in their design, and they're in sort of actually playing them is just kind of moving your character around using a touchscreen. But these games did come, Hitman Go specifically came to consoles. So is there a chance of that happening here too?
There's no plans for it right now because at the heart of it, we're a really small studio. There's like 30 of us. There's 10, 12 people at this point just because we're shipping. So it's the biggest team we ever had on a game in the studio. But because of that, we focus on doing one thing. And right now it's shipping the game on mobile. If it ever comes to that, there's like usually partnerships like Hitman Go on the other consoles. So at this point, there's no plans for it, but obviously we stay receptive to what the fans want.
So recently we got Hitman Go demoed on VR. Was that right?
Yeah, it came out earlier this year.
That seems kind of much more like something that would gel with the world of Deus Ex. Have you guys thought about playing with that at all?
We think about it, but again, like it's all about like there's on a team in the office there's like 5 to 10 people, so you have to manage that in a way that makes sense. And right now it's making the game as best as we can.
I love those questions where it's like, so have you thought about doing this in crazily ambitious thing? And you're like, no, we're making the game that I'm showing you. You jerk. Like, just
so we have all of the ideas, but we have to figure out what to do actually. Yeah.
So going back to narrative, you mentioned that that's something you're adding here, which I'll be honest, I haven't messed around with the other Go games too much, but you're adding story here. How does it fall into the Deus Ex universe? Is it canon? Does it tie
It is
into-
actually, yeah,
Okay.
it is. Like we work closely with them. We met regularly over the year with like Mary and GF, who are Mary is the narrative executive narrative director. GF is the game director. And we wanted to make sure it fit in the universe, and as narrative is such a big part of their universe, wanted to make sure it made sense. And technically, it takes place before Mankind Divided. Jensen is still an agent in the Task Force 29. He's still undercover for the Collective in that task force. So there's all of these things. It's basically a more casual slice of life for Jensen. So it's more about his day-to-day life.
Just a day-to-day thing where you're hacking turrets and punching dudes in the face really hard.
It's really
Absolutely.
most of our
Explode
lives
into
are like-
triangles, yeah.
So one of the things I really liked about Lara Croft Go was the ability to replay levels and basically find collectibles and 100% them. Is that going to be a thing that you guys are implementing here?
We had another idea for Deus Ex Go in longevity, because one of the biggest problems of the other Go games was like content. People wanted more levels, and we usually had we decided to make those levels, but they're very it was very long to do. So from the very beginning of that project, the idea was, how do we make that sustainable in the long term? How can we make more levels for people who really like the game? And how that is coming through is with a puzzle editor that's going to come out after launch, so people are going to be able to actually create levels.
Oh, wow.
What we're going to have at launch, though, using the same backend, is us pushing levels regularly. So every week you can come back to the game, get 5 new levels. It's really interesting to, for once, be able to respond to what the community wanted the most. Basically, like 2 days after Lara Croft Go was out, everybody just wanted more, and we were still like panting from shipping the game, right?
Isn't it crazy? Like how
Yeah.
and it's a good thing how
Yeah.
insatiable gamers are. But people just really want to consume everything you put out there. And you guys would work on something for like a year. You're like, here's everything we did, and they're like, cool, I want more. You're like,
Yeah.
It's been a day.
Yeah, well, there are worse problems to have
Yeah.
from the community, days after shipping a game.
Yep.
When is this out in the wild? When can people get their hands on it?
It's coming this summer. There's no hard date yet, but it's coming soon.
Because it's on the App Store, am I guessing? They're kind
So,
of
yeah, there's
secret.
still things to shuffle around, but a real announcement should come soon in the next
Great.
few weeks.
Well, Etienne, thank you so much for joining us.
It was a pleasure. Thank
Deus
you.
Ex Go and Deus Ex Mankind Divided. If you're into that cyborg stuff, that's something you should pay attention to. Because it's real good. Augment your summer with Deus Ex.
No, that's okay. We got to stop giving them taglines because they're not.
Yeah, augment it.